And we're live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to the Catfish and Crappie Show. Let's see who we got here in chat. I see Miss Annette Morgan in chat. How you doing? I see Art, One Ton Fishing Crew. What's up, Art? How you doing, bud? I see Avid Fisherman, crew member in the house. What's up, Avid? Carmel Muncie is here. What's up, Carmel? Chad Nolte. What's up, bud? Chris Everett in the house. Downtown Ernie Brown. What's up, my friend? Fat Man in a Little Boat. That was me last night. Didn't do too bad last night. We got Richard from Fish and Freedom. What's going on, crew member? Guerrero, Bagre. What's up, Guerrero? How you doing? We got more Cody Robinson, my buddies in the house. What's up, Cody? People stacking in here. Greenwell Fishing. How you doing, Mike? JP3 Outdoors crew member. What's up? Justin's Fishing Fetish. What's going on, Justin? He's also a crew member. Lance McCougai, the Hawaiian fisherman. How you doing, Lance? Pontoon Jody. What's up, Jody? Tackle Bandit Mike. What's up, Tackle Bandit Mike? How are you? Uncle Jeep in the house. Let's see. You got some more people that just came in here. Carmel, Chad, Chris Everett. What's up, Chris? All right, I think I got it. Fishing with Squirrel. What's up, bud? How you doing? Fishing with Squirrel. It's all mine, Michelle. How are you doing? Let's see who else we got in here. Art. I think we got everybody. Cool. Oh, look at this. JP3 has been a member for 15 months. Thank you, JP3, for the support. Appreciate you very, very much. Welcome to the Catfish and Crappie Podcast. My name is Mark, and today's guest is Chuy. Chuy, is it Godinez Jr.?
Yeah, Godinez. Yep.
Godinez Jr. What's going on, Chuy? How are you?
You good, and you?
Good. Chuy is a host and proprietor of Old Carver Bait and Tackle and the Old Carver Fishing Podcast, correct?
Correct. That is correct. And I'm also owner of Stud Custom Baits and owner of all Luke Hedges' rights.
He's buddies with Luke. Luke is on his podcast with him. I know Luke spends a lot of time up there in the bait shop up in Minnesota, and that's located in Carver, Minnesota, correct?
Correct. Downtown Historic District.
We got more people coming here. We got Dead Sea Pirates Fishing, Double Hook Angling. What's going on, bud? I saw somebody. Oh, there he is. Troy, Real and Virtual Outdoors. What's going on, Troy? How are you doing, sir? So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about like your humble beginnings in fishing, because you're not a native Minnesota resident, are you?
No, I was born in El Paso, Texas. I was raised in the suburb, Anthony, Texas, is a small town, right on the border between Texas and New Mexico. So that town is actually split in two. There's Anthony, Texas, and Anthony, New Mexico. Was born there, was fishing from day one. My father was really, really an avid fisherman, fishing the Rio Grande and all the ditches and streams that come off of that. That's what we had. And I was always involved with the outdoors and sports.
Yeah, that always amazes me about that part of the country, how you guys can fish in ditches and literally be as big of fanatics as anybody else in other parts of the country.
Oh yeah, no. Every Sunday was a morning fishing trip. We'll come back late in the evening, and it was a whole day of just hopping to different parts of the canals out there in Santa Teresa, out on the outskirts of the country club in El Paso. I mean, we're just everywhere, just looking for channel cats and even carp. Anything that we can catch to make it a day. And just like everybody else growing up in that time, what you caught was what you're going to eat. So if you wanted to eat, you better pull something in, or you're going to get the small part of it.
Yeah, we touch bases a little bit about stuff like that backstage, and we'll definitely get into it. I remember Sundays being the day where the whole family would go out to the lake, and me and Grandpa and a couple of my cousins, we'd be out there fishing. It was an event. It was family time. It was a little different than it is now. It wasn't so much a sport as it was a bonding experience, a way to put food on your table. A lot less people back then. Fishing wasn't as pressured, so it's understandable. I also always like to say responsible harvest, folks. If you're going to keep some eaters, whether it's catfish or walleye or crappie. You can pretty much keep a lot of crappie and bluegill. So we're blessed with those. So you'd mentioned your tell us a little bit about your bait shop. I know Luke was telling us about that one night. I think it was either on Panfish Nation or my show or many of the other ones that I've been on with him.
Yeah, so the decision was made to move on from the place we were at and just open up another shop that was going to cater to what we've always heard, is just river rats. Which was really way off from from where I was at that point, because I was more known for lure making, not really for fishing rivers. So we decided to take that on, and thankfully it's all paid off. Really paid off. I mean, every year we grow more and more. We see more and more people come in. And the community has really responded to the fact that we have completely devoted it to a river shop. We get thanked a lot for that. But that decision was made, and so far it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, river rats are a different breed. At least the ones I know are, and I like to consider myself that too. I'll fish lakes every now and then. I'll admit I'm not a big bass fisherman. I'll go after smallmouth bass a couple times a year. But other than that, my bass experience is bycatch while I'm bait fishing. So I got a nice one yesterday, Chuy. I got like a 4-pounder.
Wow, that's a football.
4-pounder on a 1-inch Berkeley gulp.
Wow.
I'm fortunate enough that a lot of the ponds around here is where are you familiar with the Godinez and John B?
Yeah.
John B grew up right here.
Okay.
I hear stories about people chasing him off of their spots all the time. Poor kid. He isn't poor anymore. He's done pretty well for himself, but I think he used to get a lot of grief for filming out here and showing off a bunch of spots. A lot of people get we're getting hurt by that, but they seem to get over it now. They're all his biggest fans and talk about how they used to see him on the banks and stuff. So go figure. You got to weather the storm sometimes. So how did you this question is something I've been meaning to ask you. How did you move to Minnesota of all places?
So that happened.
I'm trying to get away from the cold. You moved to it.
Well, my father got transferred to General. We worked for General Mills, and
Okay.
the facility that we were at was going to shut down. So my father transferred to the General Mills here in Minnesota, and I ended up following them. There was nothing really for me to do down there. I didn't want to start over with a company that I don't know nothing about. I had just learned how to run, how to work where I work in my environment. And I talked with the wife, and back then it was just me, my wife, and my first son. And I said, hey, why not? So we came over, and we ended up staying. And I think he set it up pretty well. Where he moved here in the town of Shakopee.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 lakes here in town. They're like about 2 miles away from the house. So I remember when we got here, a couple of days after we got here, he said, "You want to go fishing?" I said, "Sure." He says, "All right, well, it's about an hour away, so we need to leave early." So we ended up leaving. It ended up being just 5 minutes away. So then I'm looking at this big lake that I've only seen a lake that big on TV and Bill Dance's TV show on Sundays. I never experienced a lake or ever fished out of a lake. So first cast, a northern pike. Didn't know northern pike had teeth, so of course I mouthed it, lifted it up, almost took my thumb. For the next 5 years, whatever, it didn't matter what size northern pike I caught, it was gonna keep my lure because there's no way I would even put him in the boat. I was so scared of them. But after I got into the bass fishing, it was like, why are we going back? Why are we going back to the desert? There's water here all year round,
Everywhere.
We don't have to wait for the chilies to get irrigated or the onions. We got water here year round. So what's the point? I mean, this is what I love, and we just ended up staying at. It was a different experience for us, experiencing the 4 seasons. is beautiful. It's great. I mean,
Yeah, I need to give a big shout out to Triple City Anglers with the $4.99 a sizzling super chat. Appreciate you guys. You guys are doing good work. Make sure you check them out on Facebook, Triple City Anglers. I know that they got a whole new well, they got restocked on all of their spooks. So check them out on Facebook. Go ahead and somebody post their link if you know what it is. I think the person behind that username probably has rights to post links, but if you want to come back into that, post it. That works fine. So yeah, I don't know if people understand how much water is in Minnesota. How many lakes? They call it the state of 10,000 lakes, don't they?
Yeah, 10,000 lakes. You know, any little pond, every little spillway is a lake. So if you count those, and you're looking over 11,000 lakes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, where I'm at, I probably got about 30 lakes within an hour away from me.
I wish I had that problem.
You know, it's just great. It's just so yeah, I get that, but I do get that a lot though. Why would it come to the cold? And it's like, you know, I'm living life.
Do you ice fish?
I did ice fish a lot, but for a while there, I took on some another. I was involved with another deal that limited pretty much a lot of things that I was doing. So that was one of the things that I just didn't have time for anymore. And this is probably the first winter that we are planning to be out. I already talked even with my brother and go get some suits and stuff so that I can start going. I always tell Luke that I'm afraid to ice fish, but I was always one of those early ice guys that was out there hoping not to fall through, because all that to me was new. However, the first time that they did take me on the ice, we were cruising with some friends, and we got off the truck, and they just said, "Be careful that you don't slip and fall." I was okay, cool. And then I realized, like, you know, these guys are out there with these holes, you know, on the ground, and they're pulling fish out. And then finally, I asked one of my friends, I says, "Hey, where are we at?" He says, "We're in Lake O'Dowd." I'm like, "What do you mean we're in Lake O'Dowd?" He's like, "We are in Lake O'Dowd. We're gonna ice fish." And I swear, as fast as I could possibly move, I went all the way to the shore, and I stood there. And it took me a while for me to understand that it was safe, because I saw all these vehicles on the ice, and that to me was strange. And it seemed dangerous, but it really did scare me for a long time.
It just doesn't make sense, and when you think about it, it doesn't make sense until you've done it a bunch. I'll definitely agree with you there.
And we watched. I remember back home during Thanksgiving, they used to always play Grumpy Old Man, and we used to see that movie, but we never understood. We never put two together that, hey, these guys are fishing in these little houses on a frozen lake. We just didn't understand what that was about. And I told my dad, you know, it's kind of stupid that we're watching this movie and they're ice fishing and we don't even know what they're doing. We just know they're pulling these fish out of these holes, but we've never seen that before. It's something new. Even when I go back home and I show family pictures of what we're doing with this ice fishing, even they don't understand. Like, they don't understand how that's possible. I said, how are the fish are alive? Why aren't they frozen? And they come up with all these questions that, you know, it's just funny. It's just a totally different culture.
Well, what you need to get into, well, not you, but what people need to understand is you're not really, the ice isn't holding you up. You're basically floating on it. If you can set something, you can have a glass full of ice water and set something on top of the ice, it's going to float. It really is. It's no different than having a floating dock or a boat out there on the water. You still absolutely got to be super safe, because you can walk between the cracks and definitely fall through. So it's the physics is a lot different than what people think it is. It's an illusion, but
we get a lot of calls in the shop sometimes where I'll call and ask, "Hey, how's the ice? How safe's the ice over in Minnetonka?" And we'll be like, "It's not safe." Really, I saw a lot of cars out there, and it says, "Yeah, there's cars out there, but I'm not going to tell you it's safe." You go out there and you find, you know, if you see cars out there, then hey, maybe it's okay for you to get on the ice, but I'm never going to tell you that the ice is safe. The ice is never safe.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Tackle Box Mike says the Minnesota River runs by the town of Carver. How do you think the river is doing since being so low from last year?
Not that great. We just had a catfish night on Saturday where we have that catfish league going on, and compared to last year's numbers, it wasn't. It doesn't even meet half of what was caught in total. Not entered, but in total catches and weights as well. I mean, but this time last year we were pulling 40 pounders out of that water. This last week, I think we topped that 32 pound flat. So it's just not the same. I think it's really putting stress on a lot of anglers. I mean, we have some really premier anglers that are top dogs here locally, and some of them zeroed, not even a channel cat. It's just totally zeroed out. So
And you mentioned a league. You want to tell us a little bit about your catfish league that you guys do over there?
yeah, so what we do is we run a catfish derby that this year turned into a league, but pretty much it's just every 2 weeks we hold a 25 boat catfish tournament. Anybody can enter it, and at the end of the day, what you do is you just send me a picture of you weighing your fish. I mean, a video of you weighing your fish, show your marker, and then I next day I spend the whole day adding it all up, and then I'm determining who the winner is going to be. But we've seen a lot of interest from last year. I think we went from maybe 11 teams tops. This year, we're seeing about average between a 17, 18 teams showing up. The thing is that we're actually seeing more people involved with it. It's just they never go out at the same time. So we haven't topped that 25 boat, daily boat, but we're getting more and more people interested. I mean, at this time we had a guy come down, they lived 2 hours away just to fish it this one time.
Hey, you might get somebody come up there all the way from Chicago to do it one of these weeks.
Yeah.
I'd like to come up there and hang out with you guys and maybe at least get one fish posted and sent to you. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be cool because if you get one fish, that's a lot more than what Luke's been getting lately.
Uh-oh. Speaking of Luke, he says, tell me about the bass fishing and how great they work for bait, Chuy.
I'm not even going to answer that, Luke. I'm not even going to acknowledge you this whole podcast. How's that?
Look at him. You got your own troll in chat already. Now Luke says, I wish he talked this much in our podcast.
It would be running the cameras and everything else. Maybe I would. No, the bass fishing is the bass fishing. I'm excited because I do plan to go out for the fall. I'm a big top water guy, and we designed 4 different buzz baits that we really want to try. So I'm excited. I'm hoping to catch those 4 or 5 pound mules, and I will be releasing them back in the lake, and you will not be using them for bait, Luke.
He says, don't listen to him. I'm 3rd overall. I know that Tara, who's in chat, she was also, I know she had a post somewhere, I read somewhere that she was happy that she got on the board with some fish that she's been chasing. So
yeah, I tell the guys, no matter what size you catch, no matter how, even if it's a pound, 2 pounds, turn it in, because you're gonna have a night that you might hit that 100 mark, and that might put you on top. Because we've done other tournaments previously. This is like 6 years back where we did the Catfish League, and this one guy was only he was on top by 40 some pounds. Decided not to fish the last day because he thought there was no way anybody was going to catch him. This guy ended up going. I think he ended up beating them by 8 pounds. This guy that we was just having bad luck. I mean, this guy Mark, for the last 2 weeks of the league, he was just nothing. I mean, he was really frustrated. He would call me and say, "Hey, Chuy, I don't know what to do. I don't know where else to go. I'm just not catching anything." And he ended up going that night, and he ended up passing this guy by, I think it was like 6, 7 pounds, something like that. Now, the funny thing is that the guy that was, I'm not going to mention his name in case he listens, but the funny thing is that this guy, Mark, if he caught a 6 pounder, he would not turn in the weight.
why?
And a lot, because it was a 6 pounder or a 2 pounder or a 3 pounder. And there were some nights that he wouldn't even top 4 fish. But the way I see it, if he would have in the last 4 days, if he would have at least turned in those 5-pounders, he would have still won, even though he didn't fish the last day. Yes. It just blows my mind how they won't turn in. And that's why I tell everybody, if it's a pound, even if it's 3 ounces, turn in the weight. You never know.
It adds up in the end. Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal wins. That's pretty much how it goes, right?
Yep.
So is it what is the rule? Is it total pounds caught? Is it best 3? Is it numbers? What is it?
It's the best 4. It's the best 4 out of 2 species, flathead and channel cat. So it's the top weights of whatever species you have. So you can catch as many as you want. I'm only going to count the 4 top weights. And it doesn't matter if it's 4 channels, it's 4 channels. If it's 4 flats, it's 4 flats. If it's a combination of both, then that's what we go with. Which is a lot. I think this is a lot better than last year. Last year we had most of the nights were just flathead, and then I think we had 2 or 3 nights that were just channel cats. So I think this one is a lot better because now you have to think about it. Because in Minnesota you can only fish with 1 rod per person. So now you got a 2-man team. So now they got to think what strategy they're going to use. Are we going to go for channels in the beginning and then move to flats, or are we going to fish flats and you're going to fish channels? And then there's the guys that still same thinking. Straight flatheads don't care for the channel cats, even though they can be putting in 20 pounds, 30 pounds. They rather not enter that weight because they just want a flathead.
Well, I mean, you can want. Well, that's right. That whole 1 rod thing is kind of. It definitely is going to come into play in your strategy and stuff. I mean, I was supposed to fish a tournament on Saturday night. Weather got in my way. Kind of glad I didn't have to fish it though, Chuy, because I'd have gotten spanked. But that's another story. We can talk about that later. There's a lot of good fish on Brian B's channel caught that night. It was a midnight tournament, and they had a lot of fun. I helped them host it, so make sure you check out Brian B Catfishing. You can rewatch that, and he does have another one coming up. So if you're listening on a podcast, you can just look up Brian B as in the letter Catfishing on YouTube and check it out. He's got the 3rd and final part where the champion from the bank tournament and the champion from the boat tournament go head to head. They're working out the rules as we speak. It should be a cool night. I'm looking forward to checking that out. And I do need to thank my buddy Jeremy over at Creole Catfishing for the $4.99 sizzling super chat. Says paying my late fee, been a long day. I'm with you too, Jeremy. Thanks for coming in. I see Dave all over's in here. What's going on, Dave? How you doing? He was my guest last week. That was a great show. I just posted that podcast will be if you're watching here live, that podcast will be available tonight after this show at 9:00 on all the big podcast platforms. I'm posting podcasts a week after they post or after I record them live, so check that out there. Cool. So yeah, that catfish league sounds really cool. It sure as heck beats bowling or golf. I tell you that.
It does. It does. And these guys are so devoted to it. It's insane. Just how much they like this. They like being part of something. They like that competition. We got grandpas and grandsons. You got dads and kids. Their kids. It's just great. And it's at the end of the day, it's all about the competition. It's not really about the money. It's just about the competition. It's those bragging rights,
Yeah, no kidding. The bragging rights is something. People live for that stuff. Dave all over. He says, how deep do you fish for flatheads in your river?
You know what, Dave? I'm going to be honest with you. I do not fish for flatheads. I've never targeted a flathead, but when I've gone out with my brother-in-law who does target them, he's a bank fisherman because he's like me. Definitely won't get on the boat on the river because we're scared to. Where he fishes, it's at the most it's about 6 feet deep, and he's pulled out 20 pounders this year so far. I don't think he's ever broken the 30-pound range, but it's about 20 pounds, and he fishes pretty close to the bank, just because he's seen other people do it. So to him, even catfishing is new to my brother-in-law. But that's where he targets it. It's about 6 feet it's around 6 feet deep, where he targets, and usually he'll go right off of the 2 creeks that are outside there, where the beach hop is.
Yeah, Luke kind of chimed in, and Luke does pretty much base himself out of your tackle shop, doesn't he? That'd be probably one of his home bases for fishing, I'd assume.
Yeah,
He's saying he's anywhere from 2 to 15 feet, and I know
yeah.
that Dave all over Dave fishes shallows as well too. Though you guys would be surprised how close to the bank and how shallow water you can catch them in. So
And when I do fish for shallow cats, we went out for shallow, we went out shallow cat, we went out bullhead hunting, um, and we ended up coming upon this. We were catching channel cats, about 20-inch channel cats. Right, I mean, we must have had a school or something. We were getting them like right after the other, and I know that right there, it's only 3 feet deep. So and that was the first time I've ever experienced catching so many channel cats with corn.
yeah, they love corn, man. People, it's underrated for a bait. You're gonna pick up some carp and stuff, but I can tell you right now, I fished with a gentleman who or I fished a spot where a gentleman who's a big carp guy fishes there. He uses
Yeah,
corn, and he gets just as many cats as he does carp every time I'm there. So
yeah.
they'll eat it. They don't care. Channel cats, they're good about that. So you can put a piece of sausage or chicken on there, and a channel cat's going to definitely eat it. So
Yeah, I tried all those baits, the Jello with the weenies and all the little chicken livers, all that, and they work. But I mean, it's if you find them and they're there and they're gonna hit it, they're gonna hit it. But mainly whenever I fish on cats, it's always been with corn. It's always been corn. That's the way I just grew up.
Luke wants to know. He says, "I just want to know when Chuy wants to go 1 versus 1 in soccer."
First of all, your legs are about 3 feet long, Luke. It's not gonna catch up to me. And I think you never played the sport.
I used to be in soccer league when I was a kid too. It was pretty good. It was the Polish American club, and we actually took the championship. But that was a long time ago. I don't think I'd be out of breath at 50-yard line. Be like, oh, we're done.
But my friend Freddie Juarez just transferred to Portland Timbers. To Portland as an assistant coach in MLS. So congratulations to him.
Very cool. Soccer is a big sport, but fishing is bigger as far as I'm concerned. Most soccer players fish. At least I know a lot of the other ones. We would have like the picnic every year, and it'd always be like lakeside, and every darn Polish person in that place we had their line in the water. But that's a long time ago. Luke says, I'm taller than Chewy, and he still talks smack. He's got to take advantage. He's on the high ground. He's on screen, and you're not for once, Luke. So tell me a little bit about your bait shop.
Well, it is a 400 it's a 400 square feet shop. It's a real small shop. We picked that area because it gave that old school bait shop feel. And another reason why we also chose that area, because there was bigger areas that we could have rented out for this. We picked that because we can't go crazy with hype. We can only stock what we know is going to work and what we know we can recommend. So we were very aware of what we were doing. We cater right now. We're 100% devoted to river fishing. I know that I probably pissed off a couple of the bass fishing guys that I'm not producing much baits at the moment. But next year we'll go back to focusing back on all the custom bait stuff. I do got a lot of lineups coming in. We got some friends from Spain that are going to send a lure line. We got some friends from Italy going to also send a lure line. And a guy from Ukraine that makes these sweet 8-inch swim baits for bass that will also be part of the lineup for next year. Baits are fantastic, and these are all connections from the time when I used to publish Custom Baits magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all people that I've met when we used to interview them for the magazine. And we have other people that we want to line up that are more local. Right now, we have one specific company called Ramsey Baits that make the coolest Senko worms you can see. You can never fish. I mean, they're just the coolest. They make these cool baits, and they're our only exclusive old Carver bait custom baits guy that we have this for the lineup since we opened up pretty much. But like I said, I haven't really devoted to the custom baits for fishing for pike and muskie and bass, because we just wanted to devote all of our time to the river rats and learn what they need, their needs, and make sure that we can help them out with the gear that they need.
Cool. You said the magic word muskie. There's some high dollar baits involved in muskie fishing. I know that for a fact.
Yes, and it's real time consuming. It's a lot of. I mean, last year. I did make new models of spinner baits and inline baits that we did test out that will hit production for next year. And some guys I get a lot. I get asked a lot, like, why can't you just produce a couple for the shop? And I tell them it's because when you start producing baits, you want to produce a big batch. If you produce a big batch, you get a lot of them done. The quality is the same, and it's a lot better than doing 24 of them, because sometimes something goes south when you do the next 24, and they might not work the same. Yeah, so I got to do good quality control because I haven't really produced them to put it out there. So I really got to be careful with what I put out. So right now, everybody that's fishing my baits right now are just people that are doing it for me, kind of field staffing for me, and giving me that feedback. So, and musky baits, they are expensive, and there's a lot of time and a lot of detail, a lot of airbrushing that goes into them. That's another thing that I just haven't had time for, taking care of the bait shop and also being on top of the podcast and everything else.
Oh, I got to give a big shout out to Justin over at Justin's Fishing Fetish. He's been a member for 5 months. He says, can't wait to come fish with you. Yeah, I can't wait for that too, Justin. That'll be a good time. We'll have a lot of fun. Yeah, we got a pretty hardcore musky group of guys up here on the Fox River, and my buddy Tony Krizak, he's a good dude. He makes the musky baits too, but they've been chasing them for a while. Some of them do pretty good. I haven't seen that many huge monsters like up north. I mean, when I was a kid, we were up in where was it? Hayward, Wisconsin. I think they call themselves the muskie capital of the world. They got that big 50-foot tall muskie that you can walk up into. But the muskie guys are fanatics. But then again, I give all the guys that are muskie guys here a lot of time. I ask them why they don't fish for flathead. They're like, why would we fish for flathead? I'm like, flathead or muskie, you got to put your back into. And they never like that. They really hate when I tell them that. So.
I've hooked up into some muskies, and I've been pretty sore bringing them in for boat. They're a tough fighting fish, and you do not want to catch one when you got a 7 foot, 6 foot rod in your hand and fighting that as well. A lot of I found out that if you don't got the right rod for the muskie, that rod's going to be twisting in your hand a lot, and you're gonna be pretty sore.
If you're casting all day, the only thing I haven't really been that hardcore muskie fishing, but I've been casting for kings on off the shore, and 6 hours of nonstop casting it'll beat you up. I don't care who you are. It'll wear you out. Just if it's not the constant casting, it's just having to stand there and get through all of it. But a lot of it's worth it. Dave all over says, make me a white sucker artificial, and I'll buy it to fish for flatheads with. Well, people do catch flatheads on artificials. Anybody up there catching them with your stuff?
We used to make for some guys in the South. They used to make these big 8-inch swim baits that they used to use, kind of like a shad swim bait, very just simple bait. And we used to send those a lot down there to a bait shop that was by the bayou. But I think I haven't heard from them, so I know that the guy was pretty up in age at that time. So it could be that probably nobody took it over, because we haven't heard anything from him. And when I call the number now, it doesn't. It says it's disconnected. But that's how I found out that they use these swim baits. These we call them shad soft plastic baits. They're like they still sell them. I mean, you can find them, I think, up to 10 inches now. But that's what they do to fish for flatheads.
You can buy molds to make them that big at home too, if you want, if you're willing to do it. A lot of people make one off. That's why those huge swim baits aren't cheap to make, because they got to be made one at a time. So
Yeah, and I get it a lot. Is it better for them to buy a mold? Well, it depends on the mold you're going to buy. If you're going to buy a mold that's, like let's say the AI mold, you're looking at a $300 mold.
Yep.
Now, how many of those can you make? And
Yeah.
how many of the molds that you're going to make are you going to use?
Yeah.
Is it going to add up to $300?
Well,
it's not.
you got people like me that are buying it for more than just the savings. You know what I mean? If you're gonna make an investment into something like that, if it's part of your hobby and your passion, there's other reasons for it. So
There's no, yeah. But then when they say when the end of the question is it worth it, that pretty much tells me that they're not. They're probably thinking that they're going to save money when they're really not.
Yeah. I think this is a new subscriber. Xavier says, "What do you make your bucktails with?"
We use anything from. It depends on the size and the model that we're making, but it could be anywhere from bucktails all the way to tinsel, all the way to even fox hair, even rabbit. It all depends on what the style of the bucktail.
Sean Chili with the $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, now you are a quarter of the way to buying a musky lure. I don't know about that. But thank you, Sean. I've seen the musky lures. They get up there. I've seen them go for a couple $100.
Yeah.
They get.
We've had. We used to make a bait we call the bandido like 7 years ago, and that bait at that time would run for $40. Which is a lot of money, 5-6 years for a bait. And this is most of the customers that would buy this bait were from California, all part of that swim bait culture. Now that swim bait culture is a lot bigger now. Now you got these 6-inch swim baits that you're buying for $120 to target bass. It's a totally different culture out there.
I use swim baits for crappie. I love swim baits. I love everything about them. I've caught them on anything from 4 inches to an inch, and we'll see if we can't get one on something bigger. But that's usually long line trolling, though. Oh, that's Xavier Rufino. He's a local guy here. He also makes musky baits. What's going on, Ignacio? How you doing, bud? What's going on? Got to shout out the local guys, definitely. And I want to give a big shout out to Ricky Solo Text Adventures. He's sharing out the link to your podcast on YouTube. You can find that link also in the description. If you're listening to this in the podcast, I'll make sure to include that link in the description. If you don't want to look at the link, you just want to go over to YouTube, you can always go to YouTube and enter in Old Carver Fishing Podcast there and on Facebook, and you'll be able to find it that way. Podcast is a lot of fun. He has guests there. He's got the local group that hangs out at the bait shop, including Luke Henges, and they have a good time. You've had some pretty cool guests on there, including myself, to be the least coolest. But who are some of the people you had on there?
Well, we have Lyle. We've had Spencer, Luke, Katie, Corjay, I think is the last name. Tara was also a guest before we asked her to join the club. We had some other. I'm missing some other ones. But yeah, we had some pretty good guests. And these are all, thanks to Luke. Luke that he's showed us that river, because before that it was pretty much just bass fishing, I guess. We didn't really have that river aspect, other than Danny Two Cats whenever he brought it up. But Danny Two Cats isn't too big into social media, so he just hears about people and he'll give an idea of who we can have as a guest. But none of us really know him enough to interview him, and none of us really knew how to interview that way either. So now that we got Luke part of the group, now I'm okay with going live because we got Luke that drives this while I'm over here monkeying around with the laptop.
Yeah, it helps. I've been telling myself I need to get a co-host or something, and I just never get around to it. So it's definitely probably would be beneficial to myself, make my life a little easier. If you guys are watching, you see me looking over, I'm always checking chat and making sure that the connection's right and doing all of this stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not crazy and I don't have a tick, just so people know. So I see that you got a catfish mount behind you. Can you tell us? Is that's bigger than Luke's, isn't it?
It's better than Luke. See, Luke just caught a plain old blue a plain old blue cat, 118 pounds. Wow. Yeah, but his didn't sing like mine did. When I caught mine, he used to sing "Take Me to the River." I mounted him. Does he have a mountain catfish? No, he doesn't. I do.
Yeah, he had to go and get that for the show. That was kind of funny. That was cool. So you see, take that, Luke. He's been trolling you all night. About time you trolled him a little bit. I remember talking to Lyle right after he was on. He was on your guys' first podcast, right, with Luke on there.
Luke, yeah, Luke.
Yeah, and he said he had a real good time with you guys, and I'm like, I want to be on that podcast. And lo and behold, a couple episodes later, you guys had asked me to come on there, and I had a real good time. These guys, they mess around. It's more like sitting around, hanging out, talking some serious fishing while giving each other the business. So again, I can't stress enough to go check them out at the link in the description. So how are you liking doing the podcast?
You know, I love it. This is something that we did. So just a little bit, a little history on that. Back in 2012, we had a radio station on this host called Live 365. It was called I think it was called Outdoors Radio. And it was me and a couple of guys from work that would go live and discuss anything from hunting to fishing, mainly like gun dogs, pheasant hunting, duck hunting. Then we'll go into bass fishing, depending on what the type of the season was. And then the radio station would play music all day, and then they'll re-air the program that we had the whole week, here and there. I think it re-air the program like 3 times during the day, and then at night it would air the program without the sensory beeps that you can hear for the adult part, once or twice at night. And then the whole day, people would just listen to it, just listen to the music. We had all kinds of music from hip hop all the way to rock and roll and metal and all that, everything that was in at the time, and all the classic rock stuff. And then during that time, I also had a website called Hunting Dog Times that would make reports on what's new with the dog hunting industry, whether it be dog training supplies, ways to train your dog, way to show them how to do blind retrieves, how to point stuff, all that stuff that goes with the gun dog world. And then we started Custom Beats Magazine. We had those 3 projects going on. And then after that, I ended up taking another project that I just didn't have time for those. So I ended up selling off Hunting Dog Times. I think now I can't remember what they converted it to, but they still have that site up. I can't remember the name. I think it was Gun Dog something. I can't just remember. And the Live 365 Radio, well, that just died. So here a couple of years ago, I hurt my back pretty bad, and I was laid up on the floor in my room for 2 weeks without being able to move.
Oh no!
Every time family members would come in and try to move me, I would lash out at them, and just in pain. And it felt like my leg was hanging by a nerve. Every time I moved, it felt like my legs weren't on my body. And it was the worst back injury I've ever had. Nobody knew what was going on. I don't even think my parents knew what was going on at the time, other than my wife and my brother-in-law that were here, hearing me scream all night and all day. Finally, Rika I don't know how Rika managed to pick me up. He put me in the truck. They took me to the hospital. I must have passed out or something, because when I woke up, I was in heaven. I was shot up with whatever they shot me up with. Was getting ready to. If they would have called me for the next World Cup, I would have been ready to go. When I was recovering, a friend of mine that didn't agree with me taking on this other project kind of lashed out at me and just told me, and he says, I want you to look at this stuff that I'm going to send you, because this is where you should be. This is where you should be right now. And so I said, all right, sounds good. So he sent me these links to these other podcasts and to these other YouTubers and to everything else that I've been missing, that I was at some way part of. Mm-hmm. Some of these videos would mention me. These lure makers would mention me. And I was not aware of any of that, because I pretty much fell off the map. That's what just drove me to opening up the bait shop, and then again starting with the podcast. That's what drove the podcast, is that we were really good at it, and the way we were, it's like you mentioned, we're just a bunch of guys that the professionalism, it stays in some way, but then it's just a way for us to be ourselves. It's a way of showing everybody else that other side that we have that you're going to see if you meet us in person and we're off at a bar or whatever it is, hanging out, we're just bullshitting. And that's the way it was. And I think that for a moment there, I think for a while there, that was kind of hard for Luke to kind of grasp, because Luke's very professional. He kind of likes that family setting. We want the kids to watch this too, but that's not really like what that was about. But little by little, he's starting to dominate us. He's starting to dominate Dan Two Cats. I haven't heard him say too many bad things lately. So I think Luke's getting to Dan Two Cats. I think he's changing him in a way. So it's kind of good. But I still want it to be just a bunch of guys and gals talking about what's going on and giving each other the business.
Yeah. That I love that format, definitely, and it gets even better when it's a bunch of guys who know exactly who know what they're talking about. When you get that level of experience and know-how, and you mix it in with that side order of talking smack, it really, you can really hit the nail on the head with that combination. I think that's a good way to go, and I definitely see that in the podcast. So make sure you guys check it out. I see Chad posted that in chat too. And we have a Chris Godinez in chat, says, we had some fun adventures fishing in Elephant Butte and Cabo Lake.
Oh, Caballo Lake.
Oh,
yeah,
Caballo.
You have to. That's my cousin Chris. Yeah, he grew up with us. We grew up together down there. So he was part of those Sunday adventures with my Uncle Jerry and my dad and my Uncle Eddie. Just going out there, like I said, anything we caught went. It was either going to be in the fish stew or fried, but we were gonna eat fish that Sunday. One time.
We just read some chats. What's going on, Catfish Viking? How you doing? Fish, it says, I'm like the principal of foul language.
I've had guys that show up to the shop and they'll talk about the podcast, and they'll comment on Luke like, yeah, I didn't know Luke would. I never heard Luke talk that way. I says, well, good, because he's being real. That's everybody's real. No matter how many professionals you see on TV that there's some professionals. Don't get me wrong. There's some professionals that have other values that you'll never hear them say. Not even use God's name in vain or whatever. But the majority of us, we have our own personalities. Sometimes when we show out when we're professional, like in a fish clinic or something, it's a totally different atmosphere opposed to when we're just the guys hanging out.
Yeah, so there's definitely a difference, and it's legit. I mean, if you want to be professional, you're going to be professional, but I'm pretty much the same person here as I am in real life, except sometimes I'll swear a little more and drink a little more. But other than that, I'm pretty much the same. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, Chuy, to be honest with you. I've been kind of trying to figure that out lately, so we'll see. I did get the opportunity to meet Luke and Tara this spring. It was a good time meeting them. They're good people, and they didn't seem much different. And we spent quite a bit of time chatting there a couple of nights, and they're just good people. So
yeah, they are. They're a blessing to us. We really, really appreciate Luke and how he just I've gotten asked how did Luke come to be part of the podcast. It was kind of more of a, did Luke just barge in now and now he's taking over it because he drives the intro, he drives the outro, when it was me on the previous episodes. And it's like, no, Luke, what Luke does, he does it out of the goodness of his heart. He's a way of supporting the local shop. It's his way of supporting all of you guys when he answers your questions. It is not that Luke's taking over my bait shop or my podcast or anything. That has nothing to do with it. Luke, like I said, Luke's been a blessing to us. We really admire him. We really appreciate what he's done for us. He's like my pusher. Like he'll bring up an idea like the catfish days that we had. We were thinking about doing the catfish day. I says, yeah, we're thinking about doing catfish days too, but I don't have time, and we're leaving to Texas, and we're coming back, and by then the season will already be started. And he says, well, we're going to set a date today. So he went right live on TikTok. He announced it, And now we had no choice but to follow through with it. And then he said, we're gonna make hot dogs for you guys. And I said, where am I gonna get a grill to bring over? Because my grill at home is really, it's a big grill. There's no way I'm gonna carry that in the back of my truck. He's like, don't worry about that. I'm gonna take care of it. And we were like, whoa, what's up with this guy, man? This guy is like, if that's not support, I don't know what is. So people are gonna talk bad about Luke because mostly because he's a YouTuber. I found that out, kind of like that guy, the Guggen guy. That they expose bites. They bring people that we don't want here. But at the end of the day, the bait shop brings people you don't want there.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. Now, if you're pissing somebody off, you're doing something right, plain and simple. Yeah. And Luke is definitely a go-getter, and he doesn't let anybody get in his way, which is
it's true.
Him. That's the way to be, people. So I mean, that's the way that's what you gotta do. So what's the name of your not the bait shop, but your actual line of baits again, Chuy?
It's Stoked, Stocked. We went with that name. The name before that was Shakopee Bait Company. We had changed it from Chuy Custom Baits to Shakopee Bait Company, but people were not responding to the name. They didn't want to affiliate with the name for whatever reason. So we sat down with I sat down with my brother, and we were looking through some emails, and my brother said, "Hey, you should use Stoked." I says, "Why Stoked?" I says, "That's like a surfer thing." He says, "Well, everybody that's writing you emails is that every time they get your baits, they say they're stoked, or they caught their personal best and they're stoked." And so I says, "All right, well, we'll go with Stoked." So we went with Stoked, and that stuck, and people responded to it, and they like it. And all the graphics and all the decals we come up with, it fits Minnesota. It fits what we're doing. So we just stayed with Stoked.
Cool. So check out, and where can they find these baits at, Chuy?
We still have a few in the bait shop. You can call. We will ship baits. We don't ship rods, and rods shipping was like a real weird deal there. But we do ship baits. We can send you an invoice. You pay. We'll ship them right out. Depends on the type of jigs you want. Right now we're making mop jigs, which is what I showed you earlier.
Yeah, why don't you still got them near you?
Yeah, so we're making the cool mop jigs. I don't know how well.
Oh, that looks pretty good, but you can see how long that skirt is, which I haven't really seen like that.
Yeah, this is going out to a guy in Texas with the Fishes Lake Fort. This is our football pro hook 5-inch skirt with a living run rubber, which is the thin rubber, so it really flares out a lot when it hits the water. You just put a chunk on there, He uses the chunks that we make, but he bought a bunch of them, so I don't have to make those, thank God, because they're a pain. But so we made a bunch of these, and because like I was telling you earlier, the wife is the one that tells me, I don't know, maybe you should move the brown over this way, and whatever. He always tells me do whatever she tells you, because whatever she tells you always catches fish. Now what do you want?
He says his football head jigs are the best on the market. See, he's giving you some kind words this time. You must have softened him up with all the nice things you said about him. He found the soft spot, Luke Henges.
Yeah, no, but like I said, the podcast it's not where we want it yet. I told Luke at the end it's going to be a podcast show. It's going to be like the podcast low Carver fishing show. Because we really want to engage with everybody that, like you're engaging, like we got that from you and Lyle, the way you engage with all the viewers, put the comments on. We want to engage that way with them, but we also want to play games. And the thing is that right now we're limited to an hour and a half tops. Mm-hmm. And with the ideas that we have, it's going to prolong that a bit. And then the other thing too is Luke mentioned that we should build a new studio. So that's in the works for next summer. We're going to build a nice studio so that because we do get a lot of people that want to be in the podcast room when we have it to see it live. I think that's pretty cool. We're going to make room for people to come and watch the show live as we go, and then maybe have them interact once we get this multi-camera system down.
Yeah, you guys are like, look, you guys in got it all set up there. You got the pro mics, the whole deal set up. You got guests in studio, and it's definitely a pretty good production. So I know you guys were having some issues, but you seem to have got them all hammered out. So that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, learning the programs, and I bought a Mac computer, which is probably my mistake, because it's a lot different than just a regular Hewlett-Packard or any micro software type computer. Learning that and learning how to use it is really different for me, and learning how to do the programs and Wi-Fi connections and all that were like a big play, and it was really hard. I mean, you saw us struggle a lot. So once I think now we're in a good spot with that. I think we got an idea of what we're going to do. It's just like we talked earlier, we really don't promote the podcast as much as we should. But I've had people that show up that they want to see the studio, and they'll actually sit where we sit, and I take a picture for them, and then they go off. I just think it's the coolest because it's just a simple little room. I mean, half the size of the bait shop, where we're stuck there in the corner with this desk, and it looks like we're in a pack of sardines in there, and they think it's the coolest thing ever. Just to be able to
let me stop you right there, Chuy, so I can tell the people in chat and listening out in podcast land. No, you cannot come in my house and sit in my chair. Sorry, folks. Not allowed. On that note, let me give a shout out to Chris over at Muddy River Catfishing. He says hello, everybody. I know he was a guest on your podcast. I saw that episode. Thanks for stopping, Chris. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I wish I would have met Chris when I was still living down there. I bet we would have had a blast. I wish I was down there more often, and hopefully one of these days we get to go down there and go out and fish with him, because I really like to pick his brain. He knows what I'm talking about, so it's always nice to be with somebody that grew up the same way he did.
Definitely somebody you can definitely relate to on more level than one, not just being in the business, but that shares the same types of roots you have. I can understand that fully. So keep those people near and dear to your heart and close in your circle, and it'll help support you in the end. So I've been watching Chris for a long time. So I even met him at CatCon 2 one year. That was pretty cool. I think I got the last hat of his. That's another story. But anyways.
The first time that I saw Chris's YouTube videos, the funny thing, I had fallen asleep, and you know how his intro has those bird sounds? I forgot what the birds are called. I don't know, Chris, if you're still on, you can tell me what those birds are called. But they has that sound where the birds are singing. That's what I grew up with when I was fishing. That's what you heard all the time. So that sound woke me up, and when I got up and I saw, I was like, I see him in this small little plastic boat in a canal, and I'm like, what's this? And I must have watched, I don't know, like 20 of those videos the whole night. And I was excited. I was like, finally, we got a YouTuber out of our area. That's cool. It just, the red wing blackbird.
Red wing blackbird, Chris says.
Yeah. And then when we opened up the shop, when we heard he had his own rods, as soon as we opened up the shop, Chris was the first catfishing rod we have right now. And right now, the demand for his flathead rod is insane. Unfortunately, he didn't have any in stock. He doesn't have any in stock. I don't know when. I don't remember when you said, Chris, you were going to have him in stock, but the demand for that rod is insane. He has such a following down here. It's not even funny. Not even funny. You guys that go in there, they see his decals, and they go insane. They're like, we love that guy. That guy's awesome.
I still got a Muddy River Catfishing sticker that I got at CatCon that year on my bait bucket that I use to this very day. So I actually noticed that yesterday for some reason when I was putting bait in there or on the hook. So, and that was another thing I wanted to bring. Well, actually, before we move on to what I was just going to ask you, it's funny how the little things remind you of the good times in fishing. Definitely. It's when you're in that whole set of mind or it's part of your life so much, things like sounds and smells and I know a couple of times I can recall just this summer that the way the sun was in the sky reminded me at times from days gone past, and you need stuff in life to remind you of the better days, definitely. And that's one way of connecting. So anyways, you had mentioned that Chris's rods were the first ones in your bait shop. I wanted to talk to you for a little bit about how was your conversion over to catfishing? Because you really didn't sell a lot of catfish gear in your bait shop, correct?
Pretty much what we stocked were we started making sinkers. That was common thing. It's not nothing new, but we brought in the ugly sticks in the catfish edition ugly sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said we got to bring in something that's different, something that's devoted straight to catfish from somebody like Chris. And we brought them in, and the response to them was insane. And then moving from there, we started moving over to Mad Cats. We started moving to other brands that we've had and have come and gone. Slime Cats, Catfish Sumo. Every broad brand that you can think of, we've had in the shop. And what we learned is, since we have such a small shop, we have limited space to what we bring in, and there's only four rods that will have devoted space to them, which will be the Mad Cats, Catfish Fever, Hellcats, Chris's Bunny River Catfishing, and of course Whisker Seeker, which is the main top here. Last year, Slime Cats were the top. This year, I don't know what happened. It's all about Hellcats and Mad Cats. So it switches. And then you got those other guys that are seeking, black Catfish Warrior rods, or they're seeking those catfishing rods. But next year we will have tremendous quantity. I think Luke had mentioned it before in the podcast that we did a little renovation into the shop to make more space for all these other rods, and so that's what's going to happen. We will bring a lot of rods next year, and the good thing is I don't have to really devote much time to that anymore. So now I can focus on what I know, which is pike and muskie and bass, and start bringing that in so that we meet the needs of other customers as well.
Very cool. Well, we're just over an hour here, Chuy. So I want to wish you the best of luck in the future endeavors. If you ever need anything, you know how to get in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to help you. I appreciate you here being on the show. Definitely. Thank everybody for watching. I do want to remind everybody that the links are in description. Make sure you go sub to the Old Carver podcast. Links down there. Make sure you like them on Facebook. Also like Chuy's Old Carver Bait and Tackle Shop. Correct? Is that the correct full name? Yep. Go like them on Facebook as well, and show them some love. If anybody asks how you heard of them, tell them you heard from me. All right, guys. Chuy, thank you everybody in chat. You have anything else you want to say?
I just want to tell the team because we haven't really talked to them. Me and Rico were talking the other night, and we just want to thank Danny Two Cats, Scott Goodman, Tara Lindsay, and Luke Hedges. We want to thank you guys for everything that you've done for us. We want you guys to know that we don't talk about it a lot, but we sure do appreciate everything that you've done for us, and we really love you guys, and thank you for doing what you do for us.
Very cool.
And I appreciate your time, Mark. I really appreciate it. This is fun.
It was my pleasure for doing this.
This is our first podcast in years, so this is pretty cool.
Awesome. Hopefully it'll lead to many, many more. I can't make that promise, but all right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.